Welcome to the Fresh and Fired Up podcast. I'm your host, Dr. Emily Marshall, here with my amazing co-host, the wild, incredible Haley Pindle. We are here to help you feel your best in health and fitness and in life. Let's get fired up.
Let's get fired up.
I try to change my tone on that just to
and it was down. It was down. It was an octave down, so I had to bring it back up.
Good, because Canadians usually inflex up at the end.
Yeah.
And then it's like everything's a question. And whenever I'm getting interviewed on podcasts by our American friends downstairs.
Who's downstairs in your basement, Emily? What?
I meant to say down south. Although there's like a lot of turmoil about that right now with all the tariffs and
there's no tariffs though. Update.
Yeah. Right. Okay. When did that happen? My life, I've been so absorbed in my own life. I'm not even following all the politics.
It affects me, so that's why I'm absorbed in it. But
okay. So what? Fill me in. I need to know what's going on in the world.
Reciprocal tariffs on mostly overseas, which honestly, it makes a lot of sense. Like he actually cut it in half, so it's not the same reciprocal. It's just half of what they charge them. And then Mexico didn't have any, and Canada didn't have any, other than the automobile.
Oh, okay.
That was the only one. But other than that, like food is still free trade kind of thing, which is great.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you for the update on that, because my head has been in a hole for the last week.
Yeah.
Not literally, but I just filled you in on like, it's just been like good chaos. I've had so many coming off of kids with spring break. Haley, I had like 3 days in a row where there was 6 to 8 children in my house between my own kids and like their friends, which is awesome. Beautiful, fun chaos. But at the same time, I'm like, I'm not reading up on things. I'm just trying to keep these kids alive.
Yeah. Don't touch that.
No,
I'm downstairs. Don't go downstairs.
No, I'm not a helicopter mom. I'm pretty like, you got this, you know. Yeah. There's abrasions, and I'm like, you're not fully bleeding out. You're fine.
Yeah. What doesn't kill you makes you stronger, right?
Exactly. No. So no, life has been good over here. I've had lots of change going on, but in good ways, and like, helping friends, interacting with our own local community, which has been good. But it's amazing. Okay, we were just talking about this. How much threads come up between clients, messages online, and then even your own local community. It almost feels like there's waves of time when people are going through things mentally. I don't know. What do you think? Do you think it's like you're just what's that principle called, where when you buy a car, and then you start seeing that car everywhere?
Yeah, I think I was just going to mention that. I think it's got something to do with that, where it's
confirmation bias.
Yeah. Yes, that's what it is.
And I wonder how much of that. Okay, neither of us are a psychologist, but we both really like digging into mindset and psychology. And I'm like, okay, how much of that is things you're going through in your own mind, and then you're like seeing it in other people? Probably. Or are you just attracting that?
Yeah, I think it's a little bit of both, where like I don't think the outside world really changes. Like there's no more amount of Jeeps if I bought a Jeep that I'll start to notice, you know what I mean? Like my boyfriend and I, like our dream car is a Bronco, and we see them everywhere, but that's because we like them, and it doesn't mean that there was a change. Everyone decided to get Broncos, but it's like, well, now I'm going to notice it.
I just want a Bronco.
Yeah. I think it's a little bit of both of it, but
okay, so tell me what when we were talking about, let's dig into some more mindset stuff. We've been talking a lot about hormonal health, the physical nature of women's health, and what we can do supplementing and all those things in our most recent episodes. So you should go back and listen to those for sure. But we want to dig in more to some of the mindset stuff that's been coming up. So what is it that you told me when we were talking before we hit record?
That's coming up for me is like the feeling of not enough, like constantly getting to your goal and then not being happy with it. And it's funny because I think back to last year, and I had these big goals of like income and hitting my KPIs and like follow count and all of this stuff. And like, I love having goals. I love working towards things, but I recognize that right now I'm in what my dream was last year. And I'm still like, but I'm not here yet. Which then it just has this cycle of like, I get to where I want to be, my previous self wanted to be, and then I'm not happy again, which is like just noticing that pattern because it's never going to end. Like you're never going to feel like you're done. Which is beautiful too. Like I
Yeah.
love that. I love like constantly growing and constantly having these new problems come up and these new goals. But it is something that I'm working on in just being present. And you say this all the time, like being where your feet are. And I think about you so much when I'm in these mental states of like, what would Emily do? Um,
Oh, that's
so
great.
yeah, that's
Well,
kind of what's been coming up for me recently.
that's so interesting because, okay, it makes me think of this the whole idea of like, what are we created for?
Hmm.
And something that's always stuck in my mind, and I've said it on previous episodes. How many times do I say that line too? I'm
A
just
lot.
trying to get you guys to listen to all the episodes. But labor, leisure, and love are like the three things that like as humans we are innately created for. Like it's within our being that we're like, okay, the labor part being like we are meant to work. Like we are meant to work towards something. And it's interesting, right? Because I just told you John and I are going to listen to Jordan Peterson's talk tonight, which we're super stoked about. But he has talks about a bunch of stuff on like people needing an aim and a purpose. And if they don't, it yeah, like
You
things
get like
degrade really
depressed
quickly.
and you just feel really lost. Like I see that a
Yeah.
lot sometimes in like friends of mine who don't have like a job that they feel purposeful for, and they just like get up and it's sort of like the 9 to 5 and then you live for the weekends, which I think is super sad. Like I you should at
Yes.
least be really passionate about the work that you do, not just have it to supplement like escaping from it.
Yes, where it's like this escapism mindset. No,
Yeah.
well, and that's just it. If you realize those three categories, you will feel more fulfilled when you're like, I know I'm meant to work. I know I'm meant to the leisure category is like obviously rest and things that you just genuinely love to do. Like I think about when you went on your Mexico trip, right? And it's just this beautiful time of discovery and travel, and you're getting that leisure component fulfilled. But then you hit a point, if you take a vacation that's too long, you're kind of like, all right, I'm ready to get back at it, right? That's that pull towards the like work or labor side. And then the love is like so much about who you're doing it with, not necessarily what you're doing. It's
Yeah.
that we are designed and meant for connection and relationship.
Yeah.
So I find knowing about those categories and how our brains are wired so helpful because it helps me feel like, okay, in this season of life, I've been allowed this opportunity or I've worked towards this opportunity to have more time with leisure, right? Or I've been able to integrate it through my labor component where I have goals and I'm working towards things. But it doesn't mean I need to be going 150% all the time. That's where I think we can get skewed with the categories. And if we get too skewed, either with the leisure component where we just get lazy, or with the labor component where we're so driven and so locked in that we forget about the love category where we it starts to destroy relationships. If
Yeah.
we're too lazy or if we are workaholics.
Yeah, exactly. And the symptoms I feel are quite similar in terms of like feeling too lazy, like you get mentally a little bit sad and depressed. And the same thing goes for if you're working too much and you're neglecting like your relationships, you can definitely hit a point of burnout or a level of burnout where you're just like groundhog day and it's like every
Yes.
day is the exact same and like why am I even doing this, and then you start to question like why do you work so hard towards this, like what is this even for. So I think you can find different aspects of both of those things where you lose
Yes.
your purpose, right?
Well, that's the whole thing with like the flow state channel. I'm not going to say it. Well, I could try to say the guy's name, but it's like Chi Min Sik Chick.
Uchi
Ah, I
chichi
can't.
moringa.
I can't say it. John's gonna make fun of me after this. Chick send me high. It's like something like that. His name. Okay.
Okay.
It's clearly not an English name, and I don't know how to say it. You're gonna be like, I don't even know how to look this up. But he has this flow chart, okay? And it's like there's this flow channel. You know, when you're in like a flow state when you're
Hmm.
like, just oh, we're so connected in this conversation, or I'm so into my work or my sport that it doesn't even feel like work. It's just like time
Yeah.
almost disappears. That's flow state, right? And we all love that like optimal mindset. Everything's in flow. Well, on either side of of the flow state channel is like if you're redlining too much, you dip into anxiety.
Mm-hmm.
And then if you are not challenged enough, you dip into apathy. So it's kind of
Yeah.
like this tug of war between those. And I find it a really good visual. You should look it up, but you're not going to be able
I'm
to
gonna
search it.
try. I'm gonna ask Chatty P if he can make anything of that.
Yeah, okay, please do. But hey, we got to give you little cliffhangers like this so that you actually reach out to us and engage and we can like keep this channel going, right?
Exactly. We're just dropping little Easter eggs
Exactly.
everywhere.
But all of that to say, I think you can get into that feeling of not enough when you're chasing shiny objects or you're kind of too much, you're not riding in that flow channel. You're dipping
Yeah.
too much into the anxiety state or the apathy state.
Yeah.
The other thing I wanted to comment on that, I have lots of comments today. Clearly, I'm in a good mood, but thank the Lord for that. But I was thinking about this is the not enough. I've heard this said too, that women tend to feel that more than men. And that the underlying thing psychologically that will occur for most men within their lifetime, if not all of them, is searching and driving towards knowing that they have what it takes. That is the terminology that comes up the most. Like in their mindset is like, do I have what it takes? And they want to know that they have what it takes to be provider, protector for their families, to be successful, whatever that is. For women, they tend to struggle more with doing, and never feeling like they're enough.
Yeah. Yeah.
Isn't that so
I
fascinating?
It is very fascinating, and it's interesting too with like the way of the world now, where I feel like women can get a little bit disengaged with their purpose, where it's like if you're a mom or a stay-at-home mom, then you also feel like you're just doing everything for anyone or like
Hmm.
your family, and you can't fill your own cup. And obviously that's also just like sometimes it's your own fault. Like boundaries exist, and I think that if
Yeah.
you just ask for what you need, people are very open to give it to you, especially your family. But just getting in that mindset of like I need to keep giving, and I see that a lot with my clients, especially who are moms, and it's like I got to do the homework with the kids, I got to do everything with them and for them, and it's like, well, what about you? So creating those
Yes.
boundaries and those lines for yourself, because it is very important that you do feel full and fulfilled in order for, you to pour out of your cup and into others.
Yeah, that is so true. This is interesting that you brought this up. So much of it too is this shift in the way that you think about things as you're doing it. So I know with things I'm doing around our house, whether it's laundry, dishes, helping with homework, prepping meals, I really try to drink in these moments of the things that I love about every scenario that I'm in. Now, that being said, if you know me, if you're local, you know me. And I have my days where I'm like, just yesterday, I'm like rushing into the gym club because I'm like, we're literally almost late. And I'm like, oh my goodness. I told all of my children, we're starting a new session. We have new kids. We need to be early. And then we were like, literally like 2 minutes to spare only. And I'm like flipping out. I'm like, oh my goodness, I told you we needed to be in the van soon. My point is, I'm going to say something that sounds blissful. I'm not telling you that I'm always blissful. Like there are days where I leave my house to go to the grocery store. I look haggard and I see a friend. They're like, "Are you okay?" And I'm like,
You
"Oh
look
yeah."
tired.
I'm just I don't know. I don't even know how to answer that question. I'm frazzled.
Did you
But
mean for that to be an
did,
insult?
did you mean to
Did you
not
mean to insult me?
Did you mean to look like you just rolled out of bed? No, but anyways, the point is you look pale. Yeah, because we don't get any sun up here. Anyways, I digress. My point is I really try to consciously every day within the chaos notice these blissful moments, and you have to open your eyes and your heart and your mind to them. So for example, I've got a stack of dishes I'm doing and I'm at my kitchen sink and we have a beautiful window, like a beautiful big window in front of our kitchen, and the way that the sun hits it and rides through into the kitchen, I'm just like, I will put on some music or some prayers or something that is just allows my mind to meditate on good things, and I will just observe the sunlight as I'm doing the dishes, and I'm just like, oh, this is so beautiful. I love sunlight. I just love this. I love this moment. Like
Yeah.
pick one thing that you love about the moment and it's totally going to change your mindset. Same thing with kids when you're doing homework, right? It's like, I will, my little 6-year-old boy, he's all still snuggly, and it's like we got to do these read through your books, and the fact that he's just like snuggling into me, and there's that close time together. It's like, yes, does this feel annoying at times? Because I'm like, yeah, I have 60 other things to do. But remember that this is their childhood. And they're going to remember these like little touch point moments where they're like, oh, remember how mom and I used to sit on the couch and read? I just heard a guy share in another podcast, and he was talking about looking back on his life, and he has definitely had some, I think it's called detachment, like where you don't have a good attachment with your mother. Now, that being said, it's like,
Mommy
well,
issues.
yeah, there's an actual term for it. But the point is, he had said, he's like, he had a very career oriented mom, and this is not a guilt thing. If you were career oriented, that's fine. Like, so am I, obviously, right? And so I think about it, and I'm like, what he said was, he's like, she was very witty, very intelligent, a forerunner in her field, in her career, and I think she worked at a university. But he was like, my mom, as we got older, was very engaging to have conversations with, but when he thinks back to his childhood, he has like little to no memories of just like hugs from his mom, snuggles from his mom, time, quality time, like sit in color or her play with him, right? And so he's had to work through that now as an adult. And I think about, it's so something a mentor said to me one time, it's so much about the quality of time. It doesn't, even if you're like, I have a bunch of things to do, taking that deep breath and giving yourself the moment of 2 minutes, 3 minutes, 5 minutes to just be like, oh yeah, I'm going to pretend to be a dinosaur with your dinosaurs for like 2 minutes. That moment will stick in their minds.
Yeah, I love that. And it's just perspective, right? Like what you just mentioned there of like looking at the sunlight and just realizing, oh, I'm grateful for the sunlight and everything like that. I have something similar that I do. It's kind of, I don't know if this is morbid or not, but I have a list of goals and I have alarms. So I'm like, I need to keep my goals at the forefront of my brain and
Yeah.
whatever that may be. Like it was a house, I mean, that was that's satisfying. Want a dog and all of this, and like
Yeah.
kind of just projecting what my life I want it to look like. And at the bottom of it, because sometimes I also get inside of my head where it's like I have a million and one things to do and I'm so overwhelmed and like this sucks. Like you get into that mindset of like all of
Yeah.
this sucks. And at the bottom it just says like someone in their 20s and 30s is in the hospital right now. Be grateful that you are actually having these problems and you're able to have these problems. So it's just like putting the perspective back into the actions that you're taking. And then
Yes.
you come at it with love and excitement, and it's just that one perspective shift that can change your mindset towards those actions that you're taking that you once thought are like chores and annoyances and things like that. So that's something that I do.
Totally. Yeah, no, that's so good. And I feel like the whole idea of vulnerability can help a lot too.
Hmm.
Vulnerability develops trust with yourself, trust with your family members. And that in your daily things that you're doing, work or home life, makes a really big difference. So both with your partner, with your spouse, with your kids, that is huge. Like I
Yeah.
had the other day where I was starting to stress about coaching gymnastics because quite frankly, I used to choreograph routines for like help choreograph routines for the national team or university level gymnasts. Totally different headspace, maturity level, all of those things. This is the first time. And then other than that, I did filling classes for like toddler classes and rec classes. This is the first time I've been coaching for an extended period of time, this age category that's like 10 years old to like 13-year-old girls. And it's a very vulnerable time for these girls because there's so much transition. There's hormonal change. Oh my goodness, I feel like I'm horrible at it. I'm learning a lot, okay? But my point is I said to my daughter, like my 12-year-old daughter, we had this moment where I was like kind of getting stressed where I was like, "Oh my goodness, you guys, like this is not like this is not working. You need to get out of your head. And I'm almost getting like a little bit harsh and aggressive. And then I realized it in myself. And I'm like, man, these girls think what you're saying. They think that they're not enough. They think that they're not good at gymnastics because they didn't perform it perfectly. They think that they suck because they're scared to try a new skill.
Mm-hmm.
And it kind of, I stepped outside myself and I'm like, okay, so I don't need to like get after them hard all the time. Like, come on, you're like, just train harder. I need to go, okay, how can I help them to see that they are enough and that they're not, their worth is not attached to the accomplishment of this skill or whether they win a competition. It's the value in the lessons and learning that regardless of if they obtain the goal immediately, there's always going to require time, that they are worthy of love. They are enough. They will continue to grow. It doesn't mean just because you feel like you're worthy of love and you can cultivate internal motivation is different than complacency, like I've arrived and I good enough. Like
Mm-hmm.
that's not what I mean. I don't mean like oh, good enough,
I don't
right?
need to change now because I'm
No.
good. It's like
Yeah.
an ever changing thing.
Yeah. So I ended up having this really vulnerable conversation with my 12-year-old, being like, listen, hon, I am still learning so much about how to coach this age group. It's actually new to me, even though you'd be like, oh, you've been around the sport of gymnastics forever. You know everything about gymnastics. It's like, it's not about whether you know everything about the sport. It's how can you coach someone through their fears and their vulnerabilities at any level.
Yeah.
That's the tough thing, right?
Yeah.
So I said that to her. I was like, there are so many days, Vi, that I feel like I'm not a very good coach. And she's like, really? Mom, you're a great coach, right? And I'm like, me expressing that to her and us being to have this fruitful conversation, one, it kind of took this pressure off me to be even more present in my coaching with them. And it gave her this perspective of like, oh, that's interesting. Cause here we are just like, oh, you're just telling us what to do. And yeah, of course you can do it because you've done all this before. They can almost, so expressing
Yeah.
that vulnerability creates more trust in the relationship, allows for growth, and allows you to actually enjoy the process more. I use the example of coaching, but you can apply that to the things you're just doing around your house or how you're trying to manage your career and all your checklist of things with your fulfillment in what you're doing.
Yeah, I agree so much. And it's so great that you are being vulnerable because, like, just thinking back, and I did training on this with my clients. I feel like every time we do a conversation, it's like, I did a training on this last week
That's great.
on our relationships with failure and just growing up and having like your accomplishments praised and then your lack of accomplishments, like you do better, try harder, be better. It's
Yeah.
like you have this very strange relationship with failure where it's like I'm weak if I show any kind of weakness. And so you just showing your daughter that like, hey, I don't have it figured out either, like gives her the space to be like, okay, like it's okay to feel like weak in some areas because like that's what's going to get you to learn and see, okay, so I might not have the strongest abilities or skills in this area. How can I improve that without attaching like my self-worth to it? Because everyone feels like that, right? So you're doing good work is my summary of that.
Thank you. Well, it's been a good lesson in learning about your own ego and your own pride, because what
Yeah.
I realized, I had this conversation with John about it, and I was like, I think what's happening in my mind is the way that for as long as I can remember, the way that I attack sport fears, or like even like, oh, hey, you guys want to jump off this bridge into the water, like some crazy thing, right? I'm just like, I'm a very much of a rip the band-aid off it. I'm like, face the fear, get it over fast, boom, done, this is happening, right? So I like to eat, I kind of just like eat the whole elephant and we're done, right? Well, so then I had a really hard time developing this empathy and compassion for people who just genuinely cannot rip the band-aid off. Like there was a part of me that was like almost, I didn't mean to be, but almost making them feel weak or less than, because I'm almost like, what the frig, man? Just rip the band-aid off. We got to do
Yeah.
this. You got to face the fear. And so, but then what happens is a person can become more fearful, sorry, and they can also become resentful of you for
Mm-hmm.
like pushing, trying to almost push them too much. And so I was like, okay, I need to rethink the whole idea of when someone has a phobia and they're like, their phobia of snakes. And they just introduce, like, can we look at a picture of the tail of a snake from a distance? Can we step closer to the tail of the snake picture? You know, like, and they do all these baby steps, and it requires patience to get closer and closer to actually being in the room with a real snake. And then they will get it to the point where a person who's morbidly, deadly afraid of snakes can get to a point where they're holding a snake, right?
Mm-hmm.
I've seen those videos. And so I was like, okay, I need to think about this when I'm coaching these athletes. For you, it's like even when you're coaching your clients through it or yourself through it, creating distance. I just heard Dr. Shahana say this. She was on a previous podcast as well, but she was talking about giving yourself this space of, what are my thoughts telling me? What is this story in my head telling me? And like kind of dividing it from yourself and being like, okay, this is the thought. Let's hold it over here and let's see how we can, take baby steps closer to it without being overcome by fear.
Yeah. And I like that too, because not all thoughts are factual. So
Yeah.
sometimes it's hard to come to terms with something that you've been thinking over and over again, or a fear that you developed in childhood and you don't really understand where it came from. You're just, this is the way it is. So it's hard to tackle something like that where, like, it's always been that way. So how do you even go about, and the amount of overwhelm that comes with, like, oh, throw all these steps at it. Here's all these tools, go at it. And it's like, whoa, I don't even know where to start.
Overwhelming.
So I'm just going to stay here. And it's that like freeze kind of mentality. So I see that so much with my clients too, because they come from like disordered eating patterns. And it's like, I'm not changing. There's no way that I'm going to give up this body that I work so hard for. And it is just getting those little baby steps towards, and like compounding that proof. And so that you can slowly change that belief system and that story, like you said, inside of your head of like, I can't do this, to like, okay, this is actually easier than I thought. Right.
Yeah.
And then you're more motivated to continue.
Yeah. Or it's at least doable, right?
Yeah.
If you can even just get that first,
Mm-hmm.
okay, this is doable,
Yeah.
right? And you're gonna start to grow from there. And I find it interesting because we talked about this earlier too, is there's a huge fear by a lot of people. I don't know, I want to say most people have had this fear at some point. And I think this is what contributes to the fear of public speaking,
Oh, yeah.
is the perception of other people. So many people, so many of us, and I've done it too, where you're trying to control the people's perception of you. And a word that's been coming up for me a ton lately, and I've been sharing it with other people because it'll come up in conversation, is like this surrender, like surrender the control,
Yeah.
like surrender. Like for me, I say this prayer called the surrender novena, which is just like fully surrendering like your life to God, right? And it's so calming anyways, but it's like if you're trying to hold so tightly onto controlling your environment, controlling, well, even right to the point of controlling the food that you're putting, hyper controlling the food you're putting in your body to the point where it's messing with your mind, and then trying to control people's perception of you. That is
Yep.
huge.
Yeah. And I feel like this also comes with age, because I was definitely, and it is everything, like you just learn as you go. But um especially during like the start of like me starting my business, I was like, oh my gosh, who is going to find this account? I cannot let that happen.
Yeah.
And like the cringiness I felt, and it was so irrational, to be quite honest with you, because like people just scroll by and they don't care, and I was making them care, even though like, and like I was trying to control also like the fact that they wouldn't think that it's weird, or that I'm weird or whatever, where I can't be inside of their brain. And what a sad life it is to try and live in everyone else's brain and try and do everything for everyone else, because that's never going to be satisfied. So as like let them.
Yes, we talked about this
Yeah.
because so many people have brought up the Mel Robbins Let Them
Yeah.
book.
Yes.
concept videos that she has out there, which I think it's great. We're like it's a really simple concept
Yes.
that we're like we should have wrote this book first because we
Yeah.
knew this stuff, but
Exactly. I have
but
2 thoughts about it. Like, one, I
tell me
think,
your thoughts.
um, I've read the book and it's very, very simple, and I already knew this information. It was just a good reminder. That
Mhm.
was my biggest takeaway out of it, where it's just reminding you what you already know. So there's
Yeah.
nothing really revolutionary.
There's
It's
nothing
not.
new under the sun. It says that in the
Yeah, it's
Bible.
just a reminder, and a good reminder that you don't need to like control everyone's thoughts, and also you are also allowed to do whatever you want without like making it about other people. So those are
Yeah.
my, yeah.
Yeah, just let it see, here's the thing. Everyone's like, "Oh, Mel Robbins, let's idolize Mel Robbins." What about Elsa? She's the one who sang the Let It Go song. Come on, people.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, good point. Let's bring back Elsa.
Let's
Where'd
bring
she even
back Elsa.
go?
Yeah, seriously, where did she go? But it's just like let it go,
Let it
surrender.
go.
Like whatever the word, I think what happens is people will resonate with certain words in certain time frames of their life where
Mhm.
it strikes them and they're like, ah, this is something I can kind of latch onto. That because we know we can't eliminate thoughts, but you can replace the thought. So if this is like a simplified phrase that I can replace the negative thoughts that I'm having of what I'm dwelling on that are not helping the situation, they're actually amplifying it or making it worse, then you can shift your focus, right? And we tend to move towards where our gaze is and where our focus is. And then, things will unfold from there.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah, I agree.
Okay, it's interesting because I'm kind of going to circle back here on some of your because you talked about goals a little bit earlier, and then we ended up rabbit trailing. I don't know, whatever we're doing here. You're welcome. We hope you love this episode and that it encourages you. But I was thinking about internal and external motivation in these topics, and the not enough. I think it can come from when you're focusing more externally and more on the external motivation of wanting to accomplish something for the sake of how it looks to others or the praise from others. That being said, we both have talked like we do this, right? Or we've done this tons in our lives, correct? Am I
Yeah,
correct?
it's just
Yes.
a status thing. Like, it's
Yeah.
a primal thing.
Yes,
Yeah.
it is. And it's like establishing yourself in the
Yeah.
pecking order. And it's like you walk into a room, you don't want to feel like an imposter. There's all those things, right? Here's what's interesting. I've been focusing a lot on this like surrender and cultivating internal motivation and not looking as much to outward external praise and accomplishment, which has been like really good for increasing like internal tranquility, like peace, but it is affecting my level of motivation in ways. And I'm like, huh, this is interesting. Because there's times when I would be like, I can never miss a workout because I have to have all my stuff up online so people see it. And I have to, when I flex in the mirror, my arm muscle needs to look like a certain size. And it's all this like ego and external appearance. And I really let that go a lot. And I'm like, okay, so now why am I doing this?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
I know exactly what you're saying. And I think it's utilizing both forms of motivations, because when I was I don't know if this is going to be defined as external motivation. You can tell me after I tell you the
Okay.
story. When I was coming out of like binge eating and I was like at that last cusp, I'm like, "Oh, how do I get past this?" Like, truly. And raising the stakes was a very good tool that I used. So
Yes.
raising the stakes of that goal, and I use that through external. So like money, I'm going to like send you. I'm like to my friend, I'm going to send you $1,000 if I do this. So at that point, I'm externally motivated by money and not losing it. But
Right.
like it that made me stop, because like the worth of that was a lot more than the promise that I made. And unfortunate, I know, like we should be able to keep those promises to ourselves, but sometimes we can't, or at least use that external motivator for your benefit, if that makes sense.
That's actually really good compared to it always being attached to like affirmation from others, because at least in that scenario you're like, you've set this aside and now it's kind of a done deal in your mind, versus if you're haphazardly searching for affirmation from a bunch of other people and then you're not getting it, you can't just, like, I can't go on my stories and be like, hello guys, like I've been putting a ton of effort into my content and I need you all to like it because I'm dying inside. I feel
Yeah.
like I suck at everything. I need
Yeah.
you to heart my videos.
Please.
Please, like, right? No, that's not how it works, right?
Yeah.
Versus if you have this like trusted friend that's like, okay, dude, you're not getting this money back unless you follow through.
Yeah.
That's
So
actually a
like
really,
raising the stakes is a very good tool to use if like you're struggling with getting past that last little bit. So,
yes.
and I learned that from Dan Martell. I think I mentioned him before.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, but he his thing was like he wanted to get in the best shape of his life, whatever. And his stake was he was going to enter a fitness competition with a dad bod if he didn't get it. So he entered it, and yeah, so the stakes were so it's something that you feel is really important to you. So like
Yeah.
that could be being embarrassed, or like there's no way I'm gonna eat a worm, right? Like so like have the
Oh yeah,
stakes be
yeah.
higher than what the actions to get to your goal actually are.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
actually really interesting. That's a good utilization of external motivation.
Yeah.
Good
So
job, Haley. That was a gem.
thank you.
So I think to kind of summarize what we've talked about, right? It's like this feeling that you're not enough, you're not alone in it. That's supposed to be a comfort. That is not us saying to you, who cares, you're fine, it doesn't matter. No, it's a real feeling. Most women especially go through these feelings, and I think that we're not vulnerable enough with each other, and that it's okay. It's good to have the conversation so that you can actually move forward in a way that is helpful for yourself, your family, your health. Also, giving up some of that control, right? Like loosening the reins a bit, letting it go, surrendering, because people's perceptions of you are always going to be there and you cannot control them. The sooner that you accept that, the better you're going to walk through life.
Exactly. And I also wanted to put a note on that one too. Quoted from Mel Robbins, and this is
Okay.
one of the good takeaways that I got from that book is like when you think about yourself, like I have thought a million and one negative thoughts about my family, but I still love them to death. And it's the same thing for them. Like if people love you, it doesn't matter if they love you or not, like they're going to think negative thoughts about you, and that's okay. So just like recognizing that you also do it, and the fact that you still love the people that you love. So it's going to be the same that holds true for them and you, right?
Yeah, that's great. We
Yeah.
love you. We think you're great, and we hope you have you better say it, the best day ever.
You have the best day ever. The best day of your life is actually what I say.
Oh, that's what you say. Yeah. Oh my goodness, you've said it so many times. I need to work on my listening
Have
skills.
the best day of your life.
Have the
Bye.
best day of your life. Make sure you rate, review, subscribe, and share this episode with a friend. And in the meantime, be free, feel fresh, and live on fire.
That was sick.